The Fairly Oddparents. This show single-handedly has fairies in it, and man are they odd. Being one of the most memorable shows of my childhood, I want to take a look back at some of my favorite episodes, and then I want to see just how truly bad it got, because ruining my childhood is something that aging does best. Let's start with an episode that I don't see too many people talk about. It'll be the first time seeing it in a while, and I wonder if it aged well. This episode is boring. Timmy's living a boring life with boring parents who cook boring breakfast and read the boring paper. Then he goes to boring school, just to go back to boring home and watch boring TV. His boring dad rents a boring movie. Wait.
Ryan McCain is a loose cannon cop who doesn't play by the rules in Loose Cannon Cop Who Doesn't Play by the Rules.
This isn't boring, this is awesome! How did the O's look like that? Is that a visual gag? I'm not kidding. I don't care, this is awesome. And Timmy wants to watch it. So he does. Oh, and Cosmo gets brain damage.
My brains! Double intro!
Freshly inspired by the greatest movie of all time, Timmy gets inspired to wish that his life was like an action movie. So he wishes his life was like an action movie.
Cock-a-doodle!
And now his life is action-y, and he has action-y parents.
Pass the butter.
He didn't just pass the butter, he actionally passed the butter.
It's buttering time!
And I don't think I've ever seen bread be buttered in a cooler way. Timmy goes to action school, where ninjas show up. Honestly, love the art direction in this episode. Everything feels so gritty and dark that it honestly feels more like a superhero show than Fairly Oddparents, which I guess makes sense with the theme they're going with here. Jorgen von Action shows up, and he kidnaps Cosmo and Wanda. Jorgen has the evil plan to steal all the fairies in the world and suck all the— Holy crap, what am I looking at? This is easily one of the most horrifying scenes of my childhood. I completely repressed this.
You mustn't blame yourself, even though it is all your fault. Timmy, remember, we want you.
They're dead. They just faded to dust. Bye-bye fairies. That was brutal. Timmy tries to hide, but you can't escape Jorgen von Muscle.
Oh, triple crud!
It is over, Turner.
Too bad for Jorgen that his cat that he treated poorly gets his revenge.
Muscles too huge. Can't reach face.
Timmy puts the magic suck machine into reverse, and Jorgen looks like a relative to that one character from the chocolate episode of SpongeBob. You know, I said relative, but in all honesty, this is probably my one OTP that I have ever shipped in my life. The fairies come back, and Timmy wishes everything to be boring again. This episode, in short, is fantastic. They did a great job making it feel like an action show. I love the shots they do, and they do a neat 3D perspective for no other reason than it looks cool. Cosmo is actually stupid and funny, but in a clever way, and not just stupid to be stupid in hopes to be funny.
I've got 5 o'clock shadow!
And it's only 7 a.m.
Don't worry, we'll get there. But in this instance, the creativity and passion here is very apparent. I bet everyone had a blast making it. There's so many great episodes in the first, 5 seasons of Fairly Oddparents. Kinda wish I knew what one to talk about next.
It is done.
Who are you?
Well, I'm your Fairly Odd Lamb.
I don't have a fairy god lamp, go away. It's summertime. I told my friend that I wanted an episode, and when he recommended me this one, I told him there's no way I'm reviewing it. If I was hit in the head with a surfboard that was able to bounce off with enough force to fly out into my best friend's house, I think I'd have permanent brain damage. It's time for summer vacation, and Timmy's parents have 2 weeks off from summer vacation. All the parents do for some reason, and that means 2 weeks with no Vicky. Until she appears on the radio with a catchy jingle.
If you don't want your summer to be lame and icky, pick up the phone and call me. I'm Vicky!
And that jingle is all it takes for parents to want to go have fun while Vicky torments their children and make the big bucks. and they do it because they all heard it on the radio. How every parent can see this type of thing happening to their kids and be completely okay with it is beyond me. She's literally treating them like dogs, and Timmy has had it. So Timmy starts his own radio station, since the parents will do whatever they hear on the radio. Here's a name you probably haven't thought of in a while.
Double T in the morning, and I'm not a 10-year-old boy. I'm a 10-year-old man.
This is one of those episodes with a plot that's dumb enough to not make much sense when you think about it, but it's just so much fun regardless that you really just don't care. Why do all the adults have the same time off as each other? Why do they do whatever the radio tells them to? How does this building fit in a tree? How do you tan a house?
Don't you want a nice tan house?
When you put it that way, what? Double T tells them all to not use Vicky's services, and they comply. What follows is a Beach Boys-inspired song that honestly is really fun and catchy enough that once it's stuck in my head, I'm not even that mad.
Well, it's a Vicky-free summer. It's not gonna be a bummer.
Honestly forgot that this song existed. Now that I remember it, it's going straight into my playlist of anti-Vicky songs. All the kids are having a great Vicky-free time, and Vicky is mad because her profits are plummeting. Double T then reports that Vicky's acne is acting up, and he knows this because the Cosmocopter is right outside her building. She spots it, then Cosmo panics and flies away.
You don't think Cosmo would be dumb enough to come straight here with Vicky following him, do you?
But Cosmo is dumb enough, and Vicky is angry, and she finds out that Double T is really just Timmy Turner using a magic microphone that turns your voice into Kevin Michael Richardson. She hatches her revenge by calling all the parents morons live on the radio, and she tells them where Double T is.
Hello, Dimsdale. All parents are morons. And if you want to tear me limb from limb, my studio is in a tree behind Timmy's house.
The parents form an angry mob outside the Double T headquarters. The mob draws closer, but Timmy has the perfect plan. Yeah, I probably would have done the same. But wait, it's the other kids rebelling to their parents. Since it's Double T the parents are mad at, all the kids claim to be Double T.
I am Double T in the morning.
I have to wonder if the Fairly Oddparents had a say in helping one of the most well-known Mandela effects of all time.
Luke, I am your father.
Good job, Chester. You ruined the minds of a generation. And now that they're all Double T, is anyone truly Double T? Surely their parents can't ground everyone, right? Well, Vicky tries to convince them otherwise, but that quickly gets shut down when the FCC comes to arrest Double T.
Nobody move. We represent the Federal Communications Commission. Which one of you is Double T in the morning?
She's Double T in the morning.
You can't say moron on the radio. You can only say it on television.
Let's go, punk.
Vicky gets hauled away to jail. Now the Vicky-free summer can continue. But not the episode, because it ends. I honestly really like this episode. It has a very summery, warm vibe that makes me feel like a kid on summer vacation again. I really didn't feel like it had any bad moments. All the jokes hit as intended. I miss watching fun shows like this air on TV, with little things popping up telling you what to expect and keeping you glued to the television. This was prime Fairly Oddparents. The good days. But now, the good days are behind us, and it's time to enter the dark ages, when they started introducing more characters. Now, I personally don't think Poof was that show-ruining, because the tone definitely shifted, but we still had plenty of good episodes that were funny, but then the show continued, and with the show continuing, we got... Oh, Sparky, why do you exist? Even if he did make me laugh a couple times, I just can't see him as a main character, even if the show treats him as such. This episode starts with Timmy, Sparky, Cosmo, and Wanda going to the retirement home for actors who played superheroes on TV. Now, I do think that the concept of actors who played superheroes all living together in a retirement home is pretty funny. Timmy has a gift for Catman, so he and Sparky enter the cat cave where Catman mistakes him for his arch nemesis Dogman.
That fiend is my other arch nemesis, Dogman.
Timmy tries telling him that it's a mistake and they're clearly nothing alike. Then Catman falls backwards into the box that Timmy brought him. Cosmo and Wanda get trapped by Butterfly Man and get forced to look at pictures of his grandkids.
No one can escape looking at pictures of my grandkids, and I just got the twins bar mitzvah photos.
Then it cuts to Timmy and Sparky at home. Don't you think either Timmy or Sparky before coming home would have thought, man, I wonder what Cosmo and Wanda are doing. We should probably check up on them before we go home to make sure they're okay. But no, that doesn't happen because it's just a dumb excuse for the terrible B-plot to continue. Catman kidnaps Sparky and takes him to the Cat Cave, which is a swanky club with jazz music. He calls Timmy on the phone to let him know that he has Sparky, and Timmy yet again tries convincing him that Sparky isn't Dogman. Since he can't convince him, he goes to the real Dogman, who lives just down the hall from Catman. Dogman's apparently been looking for Catman for 50 years. He just somehow never ran into him. Dogman then goes into the pit bulldozer and takes off to get Catman. That both somehow rolls off the tongue and doesn't roll off the tongue at the same time. Timmy finally thinks about Cosmo and Wanda and saves them from Butterfly Man. Why didn't they just, I don't know, lift the net? Yeah, fairy magic doesn't work in nets, but they could easily lift that measly net. Dogman catches up to Catman in the pit bulldozer, and Timmy wishes Catman had all his powers. He throws the pit bulldozer through the wall, screams Dogman into a trash can, and the day is saved. Wow, that was incredibly mid. Sparky wasn't even the main problem in this episode. The writing was. If anything, Sparky did make me laugh once or twice.
Sorry, I mistook you for Dogman, Sparky.
Well, that's okay, dude. You're just dumb.
In the first few seasons, no matter what the plot was, they somehow found a way to keep it interesting and funny. Here, the B-plot is literally just Cosmo and Wanda get bored looking at some random old guy's photos. This scene sums up my thoughts perfectly.
What are you guys doing here?
Being bored to death.
There's also a joke that's kinda...
Here's the shark.
I cut a rug and a little something else at Reuben and Saul's breasts.
The short fight scene at the end was kind of interesting, but it only lasted like 20 seconds. Catman just spent most of the episode being convinced Sparky was Dogman, which got boring pretty quick. I do like the idea of retired actors living together in a retirement home. If this was a season 1 through 4 episode, Timmy would go in there and see a bunch of sad-looking old superheroes, then wish them to have their superpowers, and they'd get into some high-stakes shenanigans or something. Heck, they could even bring in some new heroes like Man Dude or Double Man. Hey, I'm not getting paid to come up with superhero ideas, but the writers of this episode sure got paid, and this thing felt like it was just made to make a paycheck. So Sparky may not have ruined the show. Do you know what did? No, surprisingly not Chloe either, but she does annoy me, and I think she's worse than Sparky. And don't tell me she exists only because there's a fairy shortage. I see how many fairies are in Fairy World. I haven't seen much of Season 10 before, but what I have seen, well, I sure did. I'm going to keep this plot summary brief because it's another one that I think could have maybe worked better early on. But then I want to say how I believe that this episode fundamentally fails on basically every aspect. It's Mr. Crocker's class's turn to take care of the evil Mr. Cuddles. But everyone knows just how truly evil it is. That is, everyone except for Chloe, who thinks he's just too darn cute to be mean. She tries to pet it, it starts growling at her, and Timmy tries saving her. They run out of the classroom, and then, for some reason, Chloe decides to wish it free. Then, because Cosmo stupidly turned his wands into carrots, Cuddles eats them and grows big and scary. Then, he torments the whole school the rest of the episode until eating Chloe's organic papayas and then flees to Florida because that's all it took for him to be happy, I guess. I know that sounds like a basic enough plot, but they found a way to turn this episode into an 11-minute torture fest. Everyone is dumbed down to such a degree that barely anyone feels like themselves. Timmy has negative brain cells with fantastic moments like,
So Mr. Cuddles is a little cranky. But wouldn't you be if you were locked up in a cage? That depends. Would there be mac and cheese in there? You'd sell your freedom for mac and cheese. Yeah, just answered your own question.
He also yells so much that you get tired of hearing him about halfway through the episode.
The wands are magical, so weird stuff could happen. Mr. Cuddles ate the Crockers and spit out their heads. It went viral, and Mr. Cuddles unfriended me.
Cosmo has an ongoing joke that's kinda not really funny the first time, so he does it again and again and again.
Cosmo, what's wrong with you? I have to practice for my scary violin recital. I also have a scary organ recital. I have a woman's blood-curdling
amazing scream recital.
Mr. Crocker isn't even anything like Mr. Crocker at all. He sees Mr. Cuddles, then he sees Big Mr. Cuddles. Surely he would take that to mean something's at play, right? Like, I don't know. But not here. Here he just accepts it and screams the whole time. And when he's not screaming, he's screaming louder.
You're a heinous monster, capable of unthinkable horrors!
What did you do, Kevin?
All this episode is just screaming and forced jokes. Even when they went onto the FNAF machine to play FNAF, just to have Markiplier teleport behind everyone and say,
"Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier."
You're so annoyed that you don't even care. And don't tell me that the Peter Griffin cameo makes up for everything bad, because that didn't even happen. Brent Hefner said for the longest time he wanted Cosmo and Wanda to have a kid. So when Poof happened, sure, the tone of the show changed, but there was still fun ideas here and there, and it felt like the writers for the most part knew what they wanted to do. Wishology was a lot of fun. Chloe was something no one but the higher-ups wanted just to try to boost ratings, and you can't really force a bad idea and expect inspiration to strike as good as it does when it comes naturally. I just wish we got more episodes solely with Cosmo and Wanda, because...
Oh, consider it done.
Didn't I tell you to go away?
Yes.
That's right. Ned's the Classified School Survival Guide. You're probably thinking, this has nothing to do with the Fairly Odd Parents. But don't worry, it'll kinda relate. It starts with Bully Billy Loomer and his boys playing keep away with Susie Crabgrass's backpack, and Ned and the Declassifieds here are taking none of it. Cookie uses his spy glasses to teleport Buzz into an episode of Bolly Bompa. Mose uses her super breath to blast Jerry through the roof and into The Price is Right, and Ned uses his telepathic powers to retrieve Susie's backpack and be the hero we all need. But none of that happened. It was just Ned daydreaming. Everyone's daydreaming, and Mr. Sweeney is having none of it. He punishes the class by keeping the students in after the bell rings, and they have to wait to go to lunch. Can he do that? That feels like an abuse of power. They're all stuck until they can find the common theme between water, wolf, and trapdoor. All the kids scramble to find the answer to no avail. Ned begins daydreaming to try to figure out the answer. He goes through a trapdoor which is in one of the tiles on the ground, and then he falls into a car. Cookie appears on the screen to tell him what he needs to do, and he sets off. Evil Mr. Sweeney sees him on a camera, so he sends deadly evil ninjas of death after him. Don't worry, Moses got this. She touches the word water on the screen, and then a hose comes out of the car and blasts the ninjas.
Why didn't I hire the waterproof deadly ninjas of death?
I love how comically evil Mr. Sweeney is in this daydream, dangling a pizza above the students tauntingly and being as over the top as possible.
Agent Bigby will never free the class!
Ned approaches the classroom, and Cookie tries hacking the door open. He fails, and the door becomes mega locked, so they need to think of something.
Hey, Wanda! I've got an idea! How about we help out Secret Agent Ned?
The Fairly Odd Parents? Hey, it's my daydream.
See, I told you this would kinda relate. They're given 3 options. Snow cones, to be pooped into the classroom, or snow cones. They pick snow cones. They pick being pooped into the class.
I would have wished for the answer to the riddle. That wasn't one of the options.
Oh, those were just the only cards I brought. You could have wished for anything, Secret Agent Ned. Good luck, Agent Ned. Yeah, you're gonna need it.
Isn't this your daydream, Ned? Couldn't you just think them back? Well, they leave, and evil Mr. Sweeney traps Ned in a web. This sparks the answer to his brain.
The web. Wait a minute. I know the answer! Those words are together because they're all spiders.
That's right.
Ned saves the day, the class eats pizza, and I just went over an episode of Ned's Declassified because Cosmo and Wanda were in it. Was there a deeper reason to this? Maybe. Maybe I just really like this episode, and think the 2 scenes with Cosmo and Wanda show that a live-action series could have worked just fine. But instead, we got the live-action Drake Bell movies. Why did we get these? The first one reviewed horrible. Whose idea was it to make 2 more? The first one was just Jorgen telling Drake that he can't fall in love, otherwise he'll lose Cosmo and Wanda, and then he explains to Jorgen that that's not going to be an issue because his only kiss was with Tootie 13 years ago and she's gross. Then he finds some girl chained to a tree, learns that it's Tootie, who I guess is quote-unquote hot now, then spends the whole movie falling in love with her, neglecting Cosmo and Wanda. The other two, who cares? Then Fairly Odder happened and took any small molecule of quality that may have still been present and crushed it by essentially just jamming Cosmo and Wanda haphazardly into some random unrelated teen show. They didn't have to butcher the franchise like this. It used to be on the same level of SpongeBob for me, but that's at least somewhat making a comeback. This is just going from bad to worse. Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide is the only good live-action adaptation of the Fairly Oddparents. Yeah, New Wish is coming out, but from what we got lately, I'm not holding my breath. I'm keeping my expectations pretty low because then it'll take a lot to disappoint me, but not a lot to pleasantly surprise me. And with that being said, the escape key is on the top left of your keyboard.
When no one will listen to what you want to say, you're too small, too young, you haven't begun